Welcome everyone to the another episode. Today we have a Mr. Michael Morgan, all the way from Texas, US. So he is an BS from Penn State University and he's an MBA from Carnegie Mellon University. So coupled with his education background, he has over 15 years of work experience across companies such as Amazon, Walmart, JP Morgan Chase, and Chevron. So his ability to build and maintain his network throughout his educational and career journey has been fruitful in his success. So he has a passion for teaching and inspiring others to achieve their goals, and which led him to write his first book, which is called The Power of Networking. So at the beginning, his motivational speakers and The Power of Networking has won the literally Titan Book Award. So in this podcast, we'll be learning more about his book, also his background, why he written the book, and what's the story behind it. So without further ado, let's welcome Michael in this show. So Michael, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be a guest on the show. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure as well to having you in this show, and I'm excited to have a conversation with you and learn about your journey into writing this book, The Power of Networking. So walk me through like what actually inspired you to writing a book and being an author.
Yeah, so I personally I enjoy helping people. And throughout my career, people have reached out to me for tips, for guidance, whether it's people within my network or
Yeah.
people connected to people within my network. So I mean, whether it's why did you go back to get your MBA? Was it worth it? How did you get a interview with Amazon? How did you get an interview with Chevron? How were you able to navigate your career? How were you able to move up, excel? How
Mm.
were you able to transition different industries? So I just feel at a certain point in time, I felt that I had a breadth of knowledge that people were looking for because so many people were reaching out to me, even people I don't know.
Yeah.
Random people on LinkedIn would just send me a message and just looked at my profile and just found it interesting and wanted to ask me questions. So at a certain point in time, I decided to put pen to paper and write down my knowledge, my ideas, my thoughts. And over time, I developed the book, The Power of Networking.
Yeah. Very interesting. And is that your background like in business or like your background in like working for the corporate, like working for like Amazon, Walmart, or did you work as a consultant over there?
Yep, my background is in business. So I worked on the business side for JP Morgan, for Chevron, for Amazon.
Mm.
So yeah, I through my experience, through my career journey, that's where I put all my knowledge into the book.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that book, like Power of Networking. So obviously it just simplifies everything, right? Like it's all about networking, how we can connect. But a lot of things changes in like a past 3, 4 years right now after the COVID, like networking that way we used to do, like going to physical location, things like that has like dramatically changed over the last few years. So how does the networking works in this in 2025, this day and age? And with the book, how people what people can learn about more in networking because we know like a basic of it, like what else in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I completely agree. Things have changed today. I work for a startup in cybersecurity, and my role is fully remote.
Mm,
In my opinion, networking is more important than ever. The more that we're getting into a hybrid where we don't physically see each other in the office on a day-to-day basis.
yeah,
But I would say one of the things that we can leverage, there's so much technology out there, whether you're setting up video chats through Zoom or Microsoft Teams, whether you're leveraging platforms like Slack, like just because you're working from home doesn't mean you don't have to interact and build networks and maintain relationships with people. You still have to find ways to regularly connect with people, build those relationships, and and in my opinion, nothing replaces that face-to-face interaction. So even though my role is fully remote, my
yeah,
company is headquartered in California. I travel to the headquarters once a quarter so I can have that FaceTime with my customers, with my partners, with my colleagues. And when I go to headquarters, I'm usually there for a week. I'm setting up breakfast meetings, coffee chats, lunches, happy hours, dinners, like anything I can. Obviously, I'm there and I'm focused on meetings, getting the job done. But a big part of me going to headquarters once a quarter is so that I can build those relationships. So it's a combination of navigating how do I continue to build and maintain relationships when I'm remote?
yeah,
How can I find opportunities to build and maintain relationships when I'm able to travel? I've already identified a bunch of people from my company that live in the same city as me in Texas, and I make an effort to set up dinners and
Mm,
happy hours and find ways to connect with them. And I don't need to do that. That's not
yeah,
a part of my job, but I know how important it is to build these relationships. And I'm finding different mechanisms to build those relationships. And I'm
yeah,
not just focused on building relationships within my company. I'm going to conferences that are relevant to me. I'm joining external organizations. So I work in cybersecurity. I joined an organization called Cyversity, which is striving to get more diversity into the cybersecurity industry. I joined an organization called National Black MBA Association.
mm,
So I'm finding ways to meet other like-minded individuals in the same city as me, and I'm building relationships with them in addition to building relationships with people within my company.
yeah. For you, like it's quite interesting, isn't it? Like obviously you're enjoying the process. You love to meet new people, and obviously the physical presence of like other human being. Like with me, like a similar it goes with like I love like interacting with the new people. This is why I like doing the podcast. Majority of my podcast is remote, but every time I find a time, like in my community and outside, like I try to engage with the new people in there. But a lot of people I spoke to, different background, different kind of businesses they're in the new generation as well is coming in. Like they don't want to like network anymore. They don't like to talk to anyone. They just want to work, right? And a lot of time they're missing out like a lot of big opportunities doing that. Even those like influencers, like you don't get any sponsorship deals, things like that. If you don't talk to big brands, you just like you want like people to reach out to you rather than like you going to reach out to them. So how would you like help them or like advise them with your book? Like, is there any way for like people, someone doesn't have the skill set to networking or doesn't feel like they're shy and they don't know like what to do, like how to approach a new person as a stranger?
Yeah, I would say the biggest advice that I provide is to take small steps. So if someone's more, I know that some people are more intrinsic versus extrinsic. Some people may be more shy, more timid. So I wouldn't recommend them just jump off the deep end
Mm,
and go to a conference and make 50 contacts. Like that, that's just an insurmountable amount
yeah,
for them to break through. But I will challenge them like, hey, why don't you go to a network event and challenge yourself to make one connection?
yeah,
And if they start off small, they realize there's nothing really to be scared of. Like, like it's just it's regular conversation with normal people, and you may actually enjoy it if you force yourself, you put yourself outside of your comfort zone to do it. And once you get more comfortable, then it's like, okay, next time try to make three connections. Next
hmm,
time try to make five connections and build on that momentum. But I think having those small wins, making it achievable goals where, oh, hey, only you only have to make connection with one person, two
yeah,
people, and then they start to build that confidence, build that momentum, and now they can go to these bigger events and conferences that have thousands of people, and they can build multiple connections over the course of a week.
mm,
But it's all about starting off small and getting more comfortable with it. And then the more that they do it, the more comfortable they get, the more confident they get, and it just builds that momentum. So that's the big advice that I usually give people. And I tell people all the time, if you want to be successful in your career and in your personal life, you have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes networking can be something that makes people feel uncomfortable, but it can make a huge difference in your personal life, in your career, if you're willing to take that step. I think of
yeah,
networking as part of my job.
yeah,
So I force myself to do it. There are times where I have a long day at work and I just want to stay at home and relax, but I know there's a networking event and I know it's an opportunity, and you never know what doors may open because of a connection that you make. And
yeah.
I'll force myself to go to that event. Like, hey, I committed to this. I'm going to go to this event and I'm trying to make the most fruition out of this. So you really have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and that's really going to help you grow and develop as an individual.
Yeah, and also like I see that like lots of limitation with the people like those who own a business, they just only think about like you need a networking, but those who's in job world, the professional like the employees, like don't think about like majority of them don't think about like a networking. They just go to like Indeed.com or jobboard.com, like things like that, and looking for a jobs rather than actually networking, build a relationship with the other leaders, professionals, right? And going towards that. So how would you tell them like build a network so they if they lose their job or want to pivot, want to go for like a better paying job or better company they want to be in the future rather than just waiting for the opportunity to comes to them, they go and see like if there are opportunities available, like what is the best way to approach with that?
Yeah. So I would say a couple things. One, I always recommend build a network before you need it.
Yeah.
It looks very bad if, let's say something happens, you lose your job, and now all of a sudden, now you're trying to network, now you're trying to reach out to people, hey, I need a job, I need this, I need that. It comes off in a negative light
Yeah.
where as soon as you need something, now you're reaching out to people. So I build my network well in advance. And the first thing that I'm doing, I'm emphasizing the give. So networking is a two-way street. It's give to get. When I
mm,
meet people, I'm trying to understand what are their needs? What are they looking for? How can I help them? And I may never need anything from them. I may never ask anything of them. But if a point in time comes in the future where I may want to reach out to them and ask them for assistance with a job, or I started my own business and I want their help, now I don't feel as bad reaching out because it's the process of reciprocity,
yeah.
as opposed to I just lost my job and now I'm just reaching out to people asking for things. It can really rub people the wrong way. So it's definitely important that you build that network ahead of time and you have people that you can reach out to if in the event that you need it.
Yeah.
And then the second piece, so that's more focused on getting the job because at the end of the day, when like at this point in my career, I don't just blindly apply for roles at different companies
mm,
because of that, I'll be another name in the hat with hundreds of other candidates.
yeah.
If I know somebody internally that can refer me, nine times out of ten, it'll at least get me a phone screen with human resources.
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference to get your foot in the door. And then the second piece, a lot of people have this misconception when they have the job that as long as I put my head down and I work hard and I do a good job, that I'll naturally just move up and get promoted. And it doesn't work that way. If
mm,
you're not networking with the right people horizontally, with people vertically, with leaders that are above you, if they don't know what you do, what value you bring to the table, you're not going to move up. There are a lot of times I've been a part of organizations. An organization can have 400 people. It may be 10 managers in a room deciding where they're ranking those 400 employees and who's getting promoted and who's not.
yeah.
And if you don't know those 10 people in the room and they don't know who you are, you're probably not moving up.
Yeah.
And sometimes your manager may not be one of the people in the room. So that's why you have to really network, and that networking helps you get your foot in the door, but networking helps you move up in your career as well.
Yeah, that leads me like a next question is like you gave the everything all foundation laid out. So right now I'm just looking for a direction. So either could be a business owners want to work with the companies like you worked with, Amazon, Walmart, things like that, the big brands, and or probably like someone wants to get a job in the particular kind of companies and they want a high paying job. So what will be like a main approach to reaching out to these companies? Obviously, you're not gonna go Jeff Bezos and ask like, give me a job straight away, right? So you have to go like a different level. So who do you find will be like a good person to like you can start building a network, as well as like what kind of level, what kind of title you'll be looking for, and how many people in each company you want to be have like a network with.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I like to leverage LinkedIn.
Mm,
So if I'm looking to find individuals at a company, I will search to see if there's someone already in my network that works at that company, whether I've worked with them at a different company or we went to the same school or we met at a conference or whatever have you. And that's usually a good way to get my foot in the door.
right.
If I don't know someone directly that works at a company, I will look for like a second connection where maybe I know somebody who knows someone who works at that company. And I will, depending on how I feel in my relationship, I'll reach out to that person that I know and see if they feel comfortable introducing me.
Mm,
And that way we have a connection to bridge the gap where I can introduce myself and discuss different opportunities, as opposed to me being someone that they don't know and I'm just reaching out to them and asking them like, "Hey, I'm a business owner. I'm interested in this," or "Hey, I'm interested in a role in this."
Yeah.
It it it's an easier way to bridge it. It's a warm introduction as opposed to a cold introduction.
Mm.
So I'm always trying to find a way to kind of bridge that gap where I either know someone who's already there or I know someone who can connect me with somebody who's there. And that can really open up a lot of doors.
And those people, like you said, like a you know someone there in, and then can introduce you with someone else. But those like doesn't have any kind of following. They're just starting out. They're probably listening to this, and they know they're just starting out their business or like their job they're in, but they never thought about like a networking could be something powerful. Complete LinkedIn account, probably got a few hundred followers in there. So what will be like their best bet? Like, do they go and build a relationship with them, those companies like he interested in, and what kind of messages should be like he can send out or like reach out? Because a lot of time you and I both get like tons of probably like LinkedIn messages every single day, cold emails, things like that, and we just ignore a majority of them. So what will be like a best approach? Like what worked for you?
Yeah. So my recommendation, leverage conferences and leverage external organizations.
Mm.
So if you're a business owner, there are conferences that are entrepreneurship focused where you can meet other individuals that are doing the same thing as you, can probably connect you with different companies that they may have worked with and you guys can share, help one another. Same thing with external organizations. Like I said, there are ways that you can build relationships that can help get your foot in the door when you're trying to meet with these different companies, different individuals. So I find it more valuable when I build a genuine connection at like a conference or through an organization as opposed to just cold emailing. Because
Right.
cold email, that could be a copy and paste. You
Yeah.
could probably send that same email to 100 people. It is no there's no connection to bridge the gap between you.
Mm.
And honestly, they may look at it as just spam and just ignore it altogether. Whereas if you organically meet somebody through an event, through an organization, through a conference, whether you meet somebody directly at the company that you're interested in, or you meet someone who can connect you, like that just goes so much further than just sending out a cold email.
All right. Yes. And so obviously there is like a lot of different approach like we can do. And so obviously you mentioned going to in events, conferences, things like that, like a physical events. Is there any way like you can do like a virtually? Those people don't know like how to travel. For example, like a lot of listeners from Europe, a lot of listeners from the UK, and they want to work for companies in the US, but they don't have the way to like go to the company conferences or events in like a US, for an example. They want to get into networking ladder, like what would be the best approach other than LinkedIn? Is there anything else they can do?
Yeah, I still think conferences and organizations is still a good option. Every event that they put together,
Mm,
conferences, organizations, everything is not in person. There are a lot of events that are virtual to
yeah.
accommodate people in different locations, different cities, different countries. So you can still build your network and get to know different people by dialing into a conference, by dialing into an event. A lot of times I'll dial into events and maybe a virtual event. I may put my LinkedIn profile in the chat so that if people want to connect with me, or I may look up the attendees for the conference for the event and I may reach out to them on LinkedIn based off that connection. But it's a way for you to get to know other people, meet other people, even without you physically traveling.
All right, that's great. So, all right, Michael, my next question is over the years that you working with the different companies and also working on your business, writing your books, everything in between, what is the number one lesson you have learned, like as a person, as a business person, as well as you do like other things as well?
Yeah, I'd say the number one lesson I've learned, I'd say two things stand out to me the most. One is diversity of thought and make sure that everyone gets included when it comes to decision making. I'd say very early on in my career, I was excited in roles and I felt like I had great ideas. I I would look over processes and I'd have these ideas. Oh, this is we can improve it by doing X, Y, and Z, but I didn't really see the results of the process improvements that I was hoping to change.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it was me just trying to push my ideas on other people without taking their thoughts into consideration. And a lot of times it was processes that I didn't own. I was looking at investigating other people's work products and trying to tell them how they could do things better. But now I've taken a step back and I try to make sure everyone's sharing their thoughts, sharing their ideas, and we're collectively as a group determining the best process to move forward with. Because most people don't like change,
Yeah.
but if they're at least involved in the process and the decision making for the change, they'll be more willing to accept the change as opposed to someone just coming in and just telling them what to do. So for me, that's been a big lesson in my career. And I'll say the second piece, emotional intelligence, understanding your emotions and how to manage them, understanding other people's emotions, being empathetic of people's situations. Um, I mean, obviously, people have jobs, and you need to make a living, but people have lives outside of work, and things happen. People are dealing with, mental health issues. People are dealing with like grief, like they may lose a friend, a family member. They may going through some rough times with their partner, with their kids. Like you don't always know what's going on in people's lives.
Yeah.
So as a leader, I try to build an environment, an atmosphere where people feel comfortable sharing information with me. They're willing to open up with me. I'm willing to open up with them and share things about myself. And the fact that I create an environment where they feel comfortable and can share personal things with me, at the end of the day, I feel like people work harder for me, and I'm better able to guide them and determine, okay, maybe I should lighten that workload a little bit because, this is what's going on in their life, and they talk to me about this. And this emotional intelligence just goes
Mm.
so far, and I think it's just overlooked. I've seen a lot of managers who just have this work, work, work mindset, and I don't care what's going on in this person's life. This work deliverable needs to be done by this date, and just keep piling it on. But you have to talk to people and understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
So I'd say a combination of those two, making sure that you get the diversity of thought and make sure that you think about the emotional intelligence. Those are two critical pieces that have been very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's great. So last question for you before we wrap up here, which is what advice you can give. It will be like a number one advice in networking. If anyone wants to start networking today, or like they already been networking, but what will be like your advice with your experience you have?
Yeah, I'd say the number one advice, like I said, you have to put yourself out there. And then I would also say get to know people as individuals.
Mm.
Like I said previously, work is what we do, is not who we are. So, I mean, obviously I'm networking, I'm building up my own business. I'm working at in the cybersecurity startup. So, part of my networking is to help me grow, develop, be a better person, find different opportunities. But I'm also building genuine friendships. I'm getting
Yeah.
to know people's hobbies, their interests. I'm learning about their partner, their kids, their families, their backgrounds. Like I'm genuinely care about people, and when I reach out, it's not just, "Hey, how's it going? Can you help me get a job?" It's, "Hey, how's the wife? How are your kids? How I know you like to travel. What was the last trip that you went on? I know you like to hike. What's the last hiking trail that you went on? Or I know you like to run races. When was the last time you went on a race?" So like I actually know them as individuals, and I'm building genuine connections and friendships.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're building those relationships. Make sure you're maintaining connection. It's very easy to build a connection. You can go to a conference, an event, join an organization, and meet somebody and not talk to them for 3 to 5 years. Like it's hard to maintain it and regularly follow up with them and make sure that you're sustaining that relationship. So I would say those are the biggest piece of advice that I would have.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Morgan. So, yeah. We are nearly coming to end of this podcast. So before we wrap up, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or your business, or they want to grab a copy of your book, where's the best place to find you?
Yes, of course. So you can reach out on my website. It's michaelvmorgan.com. So V is in Victor, Michael V. Morgan. So you can feel free to check out my website. You can reach out to me through my website. I have a contact me form on there. My book is available on all platforms. The paperback is available on Amazon. The audiobook is on Spotify or Audible, all those different platforms. The ebook is on Barnes and Nobles and Kindle and all the different platforms. So whether you're looking for paperback, Audible, ebook, I have everything. And I hope that everyone reaches out to me. I'm here to help. So any way that I can help and assist anybody, just feel free to contact me.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time. I really wish you very best of luck with everything you do. And thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very welcome. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Michael Morgan. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. So, if anyone wants to learn more about him, you can find him on his website, also social media platform. I'm gonna put all of the link on the description for you to find him easily. So, until then, I talk to you in the next episode. Take care.